Hello and welcome to the Schaefer Center on the campus of Southwestern Assemblies of God University. You are in for a terrific volleyball match tonight. My name is Adam Ferguson, joined by my partner, as always, Devin Webb. Devin, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Adam. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm excited. This is going to be a good game. We'll get into it a little bit later, but first, our very own sideline reporter, courtside reporter, Kristen Urban, caught up with Coach Moore just a minute ago. Kristen, what does Coach Moore have to say?
Thanks, Adam. Coach Moore, you had 2 road wins over the weekend, making you 10-1 in Sooner athletic play. How do you plan on carrying that momentum into tonight's game against Texas Wesleyan?
Well, tonight's a big ball game for us. We're just going to come out and play hard, run our offense, play great defense, and we'll give ourselves a chance with defense.
Tell us a little bit about your opponent, Texas Wesleyan, and what your game plan is to defeat them tonight.
Our game plan for them tonight is to try to keep them out of system offensively. If we can do that, we have a good chance.
Thanks, Coach Moore, and good luck. Back to you, Adam.
Thank you, Kristen. There's Coach Moore. Devin, huge news here before the game. Sealy Bruce, who suffered a bad right knee injury, is back in the lineup tonight.
So if you were tuning in with us about a week and a half ago, you would have seen Sealy's injury. And quite honestly, even when I got here before the game to get all set up, I was shocked to see her out on the floor, especially without anything on her knee. For those of you that are just tuning in for the first time here, she had a pretty intense knee injury that took her out of a really, really important match. And so they had her get some MRI, some imaging done, and it looks like it's just a deep bruise of the bone. So there's no muscle tear, no serious injury there. And I talked to Coach Moore before the game, and he mentioned how valuable she is, obviously, for her athletic ability on the floor, but even more so for her leadership. She's one of the team captains along with number 4, Jessica Sodich. So Sealy's attitude out on the floor, she's really able to pick people up, bring up the energy. She really changes the whole dynamic of the floor. So he said it's invaluable to have her back tonight, which is huge for, quite honestly, the biggest game of the season.
Speaking of the biggest game of the season, this is the Texas Wesleyan Lady Rams. SAGU, they've got the Lady Rams have 2 losses on the season, and one of those came at the hands of your Lady Lions earlier this season on September 5th. They were able to beat Texas Wesleyan at Texas Wesleyan 3-1, but SAGU fell down early, down 1-0. They took the next 3. How important is that win tonight on their own home court to face the Lady Rams again?
Well, it usually is easier to beat a team on your home turf, which is why beating Texas Wesleyan in Fort Worth was such a big deal. And they really have a hard gym to play in because their fans are so loud, and they don't pick on our players, but they do, if you know what I mean. But playing here, the most important thing is going to be taking that game and remembering that they were able to beat them, but not relying on that too much, especially not giving away that first set, because we saw against Oklahoma City how a team can come back even if they're down 2-0. So here it's going to be important to come strong right out of the gate and play every single point like it matters, because Texas Wesleyan is going to do exactly that.
And this has the feel of a huge match as the fans of the SAGU Lady Lions slowly trickle in. I do my best to follow the players on social media, on Twitter, to see how they feel about the game coming up. Everyone is tweeting about it. We're going to see the football team, softball team. Unfortunately, not the soccer team. They are on the road at Texas Wesleyan, so good luck to them. But they're going to be here tonight rooting on the Lady Lions, who honestly have had a tremendous season. And it continues tonight. We talked to Coach Moore a little bit before pregame, before the game, as he gathered his thoughts, and he said really the most important thing tonight is he doesn't want to play, and I'm quoting him, tipsies with Texas Wesleyan. They need to swing away. How important is it for them to set up their offense and get good, clean hits?
What you will see in this game is more than likely when Coach Moore says swing away, he's going to run his offense really aggressively. But when you see a strong block from Texas Wesleyan, or you see their back row maybe come out with several great digs back-to-back, that's when they're going to tip, but only then. So tipping in this match will be used as an off-speed tactic to throw off the defense rather than an offense. So you're going to just see aggression, because Coach Moore did say that if we can pick on some of their weaker back row players, then it'll get us the advantage.
The biggest match of the year, and it is not a secret, it's not even close. Your SAGU Lady Lions taking on the Texas Wesleyan Lady Rams here live on the SAGU Sports Network. We're going to send you courtside for the opening prayer, national anthem, as well as the announcement of the starting lineups. We've even got a band. I just see them now, a band coming in here, Devin. No, we're going to come right back live on the SAGU Sports Network right after our pregame festivities. Don't go anywhere. Lady Rams, Lady Lions coming right your way.
As a member of the NAIA, the Senior Athletic Conference, we are committed to the true spirit of competition as champions of character, embracing 5 core values: respect, integrity, responsibility, servant leadership, and sportsmanship. We ask each of you as a participant, official, or spectator to abide by these values by creating a positive environment in which your athletes may participate. Our officials may work and you, the spectator, may enjoy. We hope you enjoy this contest. And now, please rise and move your hats as we honor God in prayer. Father, we thank you for today. Lord, we thank you for this time here. God, I ask that you watch over both teams, protect them from all injury and all harm, Lord. I pray, God, as they battle out, that they give you the praise and glory for it. Pray that you protect us on our ways back home. We thank you for Jesus, and it's in his name we pray. Amen. And now, we have a special performance tonight for our national anthem. Tyrone's Bones is a trumpet quartet that performs in the Ellis County area, supporting SAGU and the Waxahachie community. Its members share a distinct common bond. They love the Lord and love playing the trombone. The group was established during the summer of 2017 and has aspirations of becoming one of the elite quartets in the DFW area. Please welcome Paul Barnett, Lisa Moak, Mason Hicks, and our very own Dr. Tyrone Block to perform our national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. Thank you, Tyrone's Bones. And now, the starting lineups for the Rams. At center, junior number 2, Hannah Altman. Defensive specialist, sophomore number 5, Kayla Hayes. Defensive specialist, senior number 6, Charlton Anderson. Middle blocker, junior number 7, Daniel Wookie. Middle blocker, senior number 9, Brianna Jaramillo. And outside hitter, senior number 21, Shelby Stinnett. Head coach for the Rams is Priscilla Morgan. And now the starting lineups for your SAGU Lady Lions. Right hitter, junior number 2, Callie Shaw. Middle hitter, sophomore number 3, Madeline Hartline. Outside hitter, senior number 4, Jessica Sodich. Outside hitter, junior number 5, Molly McBride. At center, sophomore number 8, Sophia Ivy. Middle hitter, senior number 17, Talia Dawkins. And at libero, junior number 7, Seeley Bruce. Head coach for the Lady Lions in his 17th season is Hank Moore. Assistant coach is Nick Moore.
There you have it, the starting lineups, Devin. Tonight really is going to be a battle of the hitters. We've got the fantastic Jessica Sodich. Again, if you haven't been following us all season, Jessica Sodich last played competitive volleyball 2013, was an All-American, left to become, of course, a mother of 2 absolutely phenomenal little twin girls. But she's back now. Looks to be heading that way, maybe towards another All-American nod. Talk about Jessica Sodich a little bit.
She is, I mean, nothing short of an All-American even this season, and she, you know, I played with her back when she was here the first time, and so talking to her this time around, you can really tell she is an extremely mature player, and that shows on the floor. And so you can see by her stats, obviously, she is a huge asset to the team, but being a team captain is so much more than just being one of the best players on the floor. She's able to lead and set the example in how she respects the other team, respects the referees, and really pulls her team up when they're feeling down and playing in a hole. So offensively tonight, she's going to be a huge go-to person because of the Texas Wesleyan hitter that you'll talk about in a second. And so it's going to be a huge battle of our outside hitters here. And Sodich is known to be able to put the ball away. And as we talked about before the match started, you know, swinging away here is going to be how we win the game.
And on the other side, keep an eye out for senior number 21, Shelby Stinnett. I've done play-by-play for SAGU Sports Network Volleyball for 4 years, and I've called her action every year, and she continues to get better and better every year. And Coach Moore clearly said that she is the one they have to watch out for tonight. So keep an eye on number 21, Shelby Stinnett, as we're underway, as the first set hits the net. And we're going to get, saw you call it, and head official R1 calls it double contact to start the game. But good heads up by Sophia Ivy there to field that serve after it bounced off the net. Bruce takes it in over to Ivy. Now to Callie Shaw, and Callie Shaw's first kill attempt lands in front of the net. Kind of came off the hand wrong there.
So right there we have 2 unforced errors by the Lady Lions, and that's not a great way to start out the match, but luckily Seeley Bruce is passing really well, and we're going to be able to pull out of that one.
Seeley Bruce named hitter of the week last week in the Sooner Athletic Conference. Really want to get her going tonight, keep that momentum going. But right now the Lady Lions find themselves down 3-0 after a little miscommunication there. Hartline over to Ivy, back to Hartline. Brought in by Altman. And here's Stinnett. Stinnett goes cross court, dug out by Bruce. Ivy over to Shaw. This time, Callie Shaw is able to power it home and give SAGU their first point of the night.
And we'll see here, you know, you notice a little bit of weakness in the Lady Lions for those first couple of rallies, but when we can get a great defensive pass up to Sophia Ivy, we're going to be able to put the ball away better than what we just saw in those first few points.
Brittany Stalaby back to serve for the Lady Lions. Her first serve is brought in that back row. Here's Altman, got it over to Lorkey, over to Shaw. Shaw goes cross court and dug out. Altman's second hit gets it over. Ivy back to McBride. McBride down the line is able to get it past Kayla Hayes, and SAGU back within 1.
You can see the excitement here in this replay. You watch this kill, and the entire Lady Lions team came together in the middle of the floor. That momentum and energy is going to need to carry them through this entire match.
Stalaby to serve again. Great serve, diving effort that time. And SAGU blocks it there, but Texas Wesleyan, Altman over to Stinnett. Blocked down by Polly A. Dawkins and Molly McBride. Tie game here in set number 1. And we talked to Coach Moore again pregame, and he said he switched Callie Shaw and Molly McBride defensively, which also affects the offense. But he said McBride, who is the better blocker, really is performing well on that right side now in the front row, and there we saw it.
And as we talked about having that strong outside hitter in Stinnett, we're going to need that great blocking.
Jessica Sodich digs that one out, and she's got another chance here. Ivy Over to Shaw. Shaw just has to take an awkward punch at it, but now SAGU's got a chance to set up some offense off the free ball. Ivy on the second hit gets it over, and SAGU 4 straight points as Sophia Ivy with the left hand guides it over the net.
And you notice there in that replay, you can see that free ball from Sodic was a little bit too low to run a great offensive play. So Ivy was able to make a last-minute decision and tip that ball over with her left hand. That was a great play.
Here's Stalaby again, her 5th straight serve. Altman, a good job by Ivy there. They've just got to give Texas Wesleyan a free ball here. They've got a chance to set up their offense. Altman to that big middle hitter and Brianna Yaramillo, and it's going to work for Texas Wesleyan. Yaramillo, one of 2 players on this team that stand at 6'1", along with number 7, Dana Lorkey. And here is Stinnett to serve. Strong, powerful serve taken in by Sodic. And here is Sodic. That one blocked out of bounds, and SAGU gets that point right back.
And as intimidating as that serve looks, it's really an easy ball to pass. And when you're on the back row and you have a topspin serve, all you got to do is stick your arms out, get him in the right spot, and let the ball hit you and go in the right spot. You don't have to really do anything fancy with your body, just get your arms in the right place. And right there we see a missed serve, but that's okay. By Almaguer, we're going to come back. And little things like that are okay throughout the match, but we're just going to have to give that 1 point and then come right back and get it back on our side.
Unforced error for Coach Moore's Lady Lions. Sealy Bruce takes in that serve over to Ivy, to Paulier Dawkins. Tipped just enough for them to set up some offense. Altman goes back behind her, and she finds Yaramillo, and the block goes out of bounds. Point, Texas Wesleyan. Here is Lorkey. Back to serve for the Lady Rams. Serve taken in by Almaguer. Over to Ivy, back to Sodic. This time blocked by Tiara Coverson. A good job by herself to get that block off of Sodic.
Coach Moore did mention that there are going to be a lot of single blocks throughout this match, and especially when you're hitting from the back row, the one rule is to not hit the ball in the middle of the net where that middle blocker is going to be. So hopefully we won't see that again in this match.
And there is Callie Shaw, dug out by Altman. SAGU's going to have a free ball. Bruce to Ivy, back to Dawkins on the slide play, and it's blocked quickly back in front of her by Shaylee Griffin.
And as you mentioned before, Adam, the game started, Coach Moore does not want to play a tip game. And right there, Dawkins was trying everything she could to get up and get the ball over the net, but she did tip it, and we saw it stuffed right back down our face with the strong block for Texas Wesleyan.
Ivy looking to Callie Shaw, and Callie Shaw this time goes up at the net, but a great save by the Lady Rams. Here's Shaw again, punches it over, and here we see our first really good rally of the night. Almaguer down to her knees, and Ivy can't quite get enough of that one, and it lands on SAGU territory, and just like that, the Lady Rams have built up a 4-point lead.
That's why it's so important to never celebrate until you hear the whistle, because the Lady Lions didn't think that was coming back.
And there we see Texas Wesleyan have a service error of their own, and they're going to give the ball right back to SAGU. Callie Shaw now back to serve. Taken in by Stinnett, over to Altman. Looking cross court was Tiara Coverson, but it goes long, and SAGU gets another one here, 7 serving 9.
And that's why it's so important for your back row to know exactly where they are on the floor. You saw Bruce there let the ball go because she knew it was out of bounds.
Altman, the set up to Yaramillo. Ivy over to Sodic, and Sodic is able to get it past the outstretched hands of that front line of defense and pull SAGU within 1 here in set number 1. Shaw remains back to serve. Altman looking to Stinnett from that back row. We know she likes to do that. Dug out by Almaguer, over to Sodic, and Sodic powers it down. Great dig on that back row by Altman. Shaw to Ivy, over to Sodic again. Can she get another one? Again, off the fingertips of that front line and out of bounds.
When you do have a strong block defensively, as an offensive player, it's important to know how to tool the ball off the block. And you can see Sodich has done that time and time again. She'll continue to harp on that until they fix it.
Altman finds Griffin, and SAGU's got a chance to set up some offense. Almaguer from that 10-foot line. And here comes Texas Wesleyan. Altman over to Yaramillo, and the block goes out of bounds, tipped at that front line, giving Texas Wesleyan that 1-point lead back, 10 serving 9.
Serving Sasha Robinson.
Serve taken in by Almaguer. Over to Ivy, looking for Sodich. Why not? Try to get it to her again. And here comes Texas Wesleyan, taken in easily by Almaguer to Ivy. And here's Shaw from that back row, dug out by Stinnett. And that one blocked out of bounds. Brittany Mole is able to get Texas Wesleyan that 2-point lead right back. 11 now, serving 9. Shaw takes in the serve, over to Ivy. Now Almaguer. Almaguer looking for that back line, cannot find it. Just a little too strong by Nikki Almaguer. And that was close.
And that's an aggressive play, even though it goes out of bounds. You see Almaguer really trying to make an aggressive effort from the back row, so that's just one of those accidents that you can't avoid.
Jessica Sodich right in the face that time of Sasha Robinson, but a good job to stand strong and make a good attempt at a dig there. And Texas Wesleyan almost was able to play that one again. They've done a good job of neutralizing that powerful hitting game of Jessica Sodich.
And the most important thing is just to get the ball high in the middle of the floor. It doesn't have to be a perfect pass, especially on a strong offensive play.
And here is Bo into serve. And she does what she does best. Bo comes in and gets an ace, quite possibly the best server on this team. And she does her job well, coming in and getting an ace, pulling SAGU back within 2. 10 now serving 12. And here comes Bo. Serve taken in by Stinnett. Shaw digs that out over to Ivy. Back to Shaw. And the Lady Lions stand with it. Good defense. Here's a free ball, though, for Texas Wesleyan. Sodich. And there is the call by the head official, or rather R2. And here is Bo to continue serving within 1. 11 now serving 12. And another good serve as Texas Wesleyan could not get anything going with it. Hartline gets it over on that first hit, and there is the powerful Tiara Coverson standing at 6 foot, able to get it past. No defense there at the front line.
So you noticed a bit of a joust there. We were all kind of sucked in both sides of the court as the ball kind of tipped back and forth over the net. That's why they sent it deep, because all of our players were so far sucked in, and it worked in their favor.
13 serving 12. Ivy over to Shaw. And Callie Shaw able to place it perfectly in front of that back line and tie this first set back up at 13 apiece.
And sometimes when you've seen from the back row, the Lady Lions have tried to hit really aggressively, and it hasn't turned into a point. So right there, Shaw did a great thing. She went up aggressively, but then dropped her shoulder last minute, hit that roll shot right to the middle of the floor, and threw off the Wesleyan defense.
And there's Sophia Ivy with the serve, unable to be fielded in that back row. It looked like that was Mackenzie Black, couldn't get in front of it. And Ivy gives SAGU a 14-13 lead. Every point, Devin, just feels so important in a matchup that is this big.
You're exactly right. There's no time to get in a hole here.
Sealy Bruce does a good job of getting that one in play. Sodich now tries to go cross court with it, just got underneath it a little bit and didn't have enough on it.
And you saw here, she goes up aggressively, drops her shoulder at the very last minute, but unfortunately she made contact with the ball at her fingertips instead of in the ball of her hand, which is why you saw that ball fall short.
14 all here in set number 1. Bruce to Ivy, looking to McBride, a bad pass, and SAGU's just got to keep it alive. Hartline gives Texas Wesleyan a free ball. And then a good job that time of Brittany Mole to just be able to punch it over. Looked like it may have caught that SAGU defense off guard. Lands right in front of that back row in Sophia Ivy.
So here you're going to see the ball belongs to the Lady Lions, because if you notice in that replay, it's a great play by Wesleyan, but unfortunately on the way down from her attack, she went underneath the net. So the rule is here, you see she's right there under the net. It's not a violation unless you're in the play. So she was going up to touch the ball, which is why it's a violation in the Lady Lions ball.
15 serving 14 as Sodich is in to serve. Sodich digs that one out. Ivy now looking for Shaw, and Shaw looks for the powerful kill, but it goes long. And Coach Moore put the clipboard to his face. He knows that may have been a missed opportunity.
And you kind of saw a little bit of out of control form right there from Shaw. She went up, her legs are kind of all over the place. She had the aggression, but it wasn't channeled in a clean way, which is why you saw the ball fly far out of bounds. And we've seen her hit with power before.
And here's McBride on a slide play, but it's dug out by Altman. And there you see the call, double contact. I saw your arms go up. You're looking for it. I'm sure Coach Moore's looking for it. And that gives SAGU the lead right back.
Well, quite honestly, there have been quite a few in this match already. It's nice to see consistency from a referee, so I'm hopeful that we can have that throughout the match.
16 serving 15 as Stallaby is back to serve. Taken in that back row, Altman. And Sodich is able to just get a hand on it, and it looked like it may have caught her or crossed her up a little bit as Yaramillo is able to get that kill.
And that right there is a last-minute decision. You saw Sodich, she's not really sure what she's doing there, and in a moment when the ball's coming at your face, you've got to decide arms or hands.
Ivy over to Dawkins. Dawkins with the open hand tip. Here's McBride. Dawkins on the second hit, dug out that time by Charlton Anderson. A good job to be prepared for that second hit. Here is Shaw. Shaw this time is able to get that kill, but a huge dig that time by Anderson. How often do you see a second hit that strong by a player like Dawkins dug out?
Well, never, really. That's a great play by Dawkins to throw off the defense, and everyone just happened to be in the right place at the right time for Texas Wesleyan.
Altman looking back the other way. Here's Sodich over to Ivy. Now she's trying to get it to Shaw. And that's going to be a double contact call, this time on the Lady Lions, tying it back up at 17 apiece.
We've seen several of those double contacts in the in the last few plays. All that is the setters just got to get their feet set in the right place in the right time.
Sodich takes in the serve over to Ivy, looking for Dawkins, and Dawkins tries to take that Ivy pass and do whatever she can with it. Ivy maybe just a little too strong there.
And you can see her frustration with herself as she looks back and sees where her set ended up. I wouldn't be surprised if Coach Moore calls one more time, or calls a timeout if Wesleyan gets another point.
18 serving 17. Ivy looking for Shaw, and Shaw able to go across her body and get it in front of Hannah Altman. A good job to change direction and tie this one up.
And that's as good as a timeout right there. You've got a great offensive play that shifts the momentum back to the Lady Lions, and we can be on a run again.
18 all here as Callie Shaw steps back to serve. After that kill, tied it back up here again at 18 in set number 1. Shaw serve taken in that back row. And Texas Wesleyan is all over the place. Bruce over to Ivy looking for Sodich, and Sodich's kill is a good one. Goes cross court and gets it in front of Mackenzie Black and gives SAGU a 19-18 lead. That point feels big, Devin.
And you see that ball right there fall in between the defense. They were both in the right spot, but the ball, sometimes you just have to salute. And right there, Sodich deserves a salute.
Callie Shaw gets an ace and gives SAGU a 2-point lead late here in set number 1, 20-18. There's that milestone we talk about, that 20-point mark. You always want to be the first one to hit that, but in a tightly contested set number 1, Texas Wesleyan has to get a point back here. Shaw dives for it. Ivy over to Almaguer. Altman, good job of keeping that one under control. Bruce goes down to her knees and digs it out. Almaguer keeping SAGU alive. And a good rally here. Bruce to Ivy, over to Sodich. And Sodich goes across her body. Here's Bruce again to Ivy. Back to Sodich. and Sodic tried to change direction again and can't get it over the net, and that is a big point win for the Lady Rams.
We saw a lot of great defense there from Bruce. And it looks in that replay there, Sodic may have come in on her approach a little bit too early, so she tried to turn her body sideways and got underneath the ball.
19 serving 20. Almaguer takes the serve in. Over to Bruce, back to Sodic, and Sodic this time able to get it down, but Texas Wesleyan stays with it. Here's Sodic again. Sodic with a vengeance, able to power that one down, giving SAGU that 2-point lead right back.
You can see in the way she finishes her approach here, once she gets that kill, no smile, no celebration, that's when you know she's ready to finish this set.
Jessica Sodic, all business here tonight against the Lady Rams, as we're gonna get a timeout called by head coach Priscilla Morgan, the first-year head coach for this Texas Wesleyan Lady Rams team. And Devin, 21 serving 19 coming out of the timeout. This first set feels so big. Neither team wants to drop this first one.
And you've seen in every area of the game, we've had service errors on both sides of the floor. We've had setting errors. We've had silly hitting errors into the net that should have been an easy point over. So it hasn't been just one team over the other making errors, which is interesting to see because you can tell by how close the score is. We're still a really closely contested two teams here on the floor tonight. And that's why every single point is so important. Making it first to 20 was huge for the Lady Lions. But here, you can see this set is nowhere near over. So we're going to have to come out from this timeout meant to ice the Lady Lions and come out strong.
And here you see the tightly contested Sooner Athletic Conference. Those top 4 teams all separated by a game. If SAGU can come away with a win tonight, they're second on the year against Texas Wesleyan, they would stand in good position at the top of the Sooner Athletic Conference standings. But that Oklahoma City team who came here to Waxahachie and beat the Lady Lions holds that tiebreaker. So we're keeping a close eye on that matchup tonight as they play Southwestern Christian in Oklahoma City. As Bo steps back to serve with a 2-point lead, 21 serving 19. Taken in that back row by Stinnett. And here is Stinnett from that back row, dug out by Bo, who is a very good defensive player. Here's Sodic now, blocked back in front. Almaguer able to stay with it. Sodic with the open hand gets it to the back row, but Texas Wesleyan setting up the offense, and it is going to work. Getting back within 20 serving 21.
That was a lot of great defense by the Lady Lions and a smart play by Sodic too to come up open-handed. And right there you see just a tiny hole in the block. You can see how detrimental that can be in a high-intensity rally.
Almaguer takes in the serve. Ivy, the back step to Hartline, and Hartline's kill is long. The Lady Lions looking for maybe a tip, but they're not going to get it, and it's all knotted up here at 21 apiece.
And you see that the timeout was called when Wesleyan was down 19-21. And this is what we were afraid of. They're now tied neck and neck, and it's a fight for 25.
Ivy looking for Sodic, and Sodic goes away from the power game this time. Will it work? Texas Wesleyan staying with it. Stinnett gets it over. Bruce to Ivy looking for Sodic again. Sodic this time, the power game gets SAGU the lead back 22-21.
And what I've noticed about the Texas Wesleyan defense, while they may not necessarily be strong in the official sense of the word, they can play really scrappy. And so at this point, when you can get pretty much everything off the floor, it's working in their favor.
Here is Sophia Ivy to serve. Again, up 1, 22 serving 21. Brought in that back row. And here is Stinnett, the big hitter for Texas Wesleyan. And she is able to change direction this time and put it down the line and tie it back up at 22 apiece. It actually gets tipped that time by Hartline and crossed up, or Sophia Ivy rather. And here is the Lady Rams, 22-22. Ivy looking for McBride. McBride from that left side, it's gonna work. Gets it in front of Sasha Robinson, who maybe should have let that one go.
You can see here, McBride comes up. I think that ball would have been in bounds, but more importantly than that, it was tipped off of the block. So at that point, when you're in the back row and you see that, you have to do whatever you can to try and make contact.
And Sodic's serve goes out of bounds, and it is 23 all here in set number 1. And that cannot make you happy if you're Coach Moore. You don't want to see that from your star player.
Especially when we're only 2 points away from the end of the set.
Back to serve now for the Lady Rams, Hannah Altman. Again, 23 all here in set number 1. Sodic comes up to get it. Ivy looking for Shaw, and Shaw is able to power it down really right in front of that blocking combo, who again, we've seen that from the Lady Lions in the past, a little too far away from the net.
Yeah, you've heard me talk about that. You see the gap right there, even if it's ever so slight.
Not a huge gap.
If they leave any space at all, that's where the ball's going to go.
Set point as Brittany Stalaby comes in to serve, 24 serving 23, and we're going to get another timeout by Priscilla Morgan as you see how important this first set is. It's always live to fight or live to fight another day maybe in set 2, but Coach Morgan and the Lady Rams, they want this first set badly.
And you can tell by this timeout of desperation at the last set point, you know, that in itself shows the importance of winning the first set and taking it away, because whoever wins set number 1 has momentum going into 2. Anything can happen throughout the rest of the match, but it really is up to this winner for number 1 to decide the momentum going into the next set. And as we come out, you see Texas Wesleyan a little bit defeated, and rightfully so. They came out from their last timeout and got ahead of the Lady Lions, and here Coach Moore is strategizing with his team, taking every last second of this timeout, getting them ready for what could be the set point here moving into set number 2. So we'll see what happens here. Hopefully we can get an aggressive serve from the Lady Lions. But if not, we'll be moving into a high-scoring game.
And you talk about the momentum going from set 1, that victory, to set 2. Texas Wesleyan on September 5th, they took set 1, 25-23, and then the Lady Lions battled back and took 3 in a row. So that momentum, not always the case, especially on September 5th, but we'll see what it does tonight. Stalaby now serving for match point, and she's going to get an ace! Brittany Stalaby giving SAGU set number 1, 25-23, and that feels just huge as the Lady Lions celebrating after that ace by the young Stalaby.
And that's exactly how you want to finish a set like that, especially with such a close score. Adam, it's huge, like you said, to win on an ace like that, because even if it's a good rally and if Texas Wesleyan were to have made an error, we still would have won the set, but the momentum would not have been nearly as high, and the Lady Lions are on cloud 9 going into set number 2.
And we're going to take you to set number 2 in here just a minute, but if you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on all of our social media. That's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and most importantly, YouTube, where we've got a couple of highlights from this past weekend, which was homecoming weekend as the football team took on Wayland Baptist. Go ahead and check out some of these highlights. And there you see it, the big victory for the SAGU Lions. What we're going to ask you to do right now is go ahead and vote on what your favorite highlight was in that homecoming game on our social media platforms. Again, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Google+, Periscope, anything we have. Go ahead and give your vote. Devin, my vote right now is for number 2, Jordan Coleman. Early on in the game, the defensive lineman, who typically we don't see get interceptions, step up, using that big 6'4" frame, getting a pick to stop Wayland Baptist in their own territory. Really felt like the momentum shift in that win against Wayland Baptist. So that's my vote. I don't want to influence any voting out there, but that is absolutely my vote for the play of the game against Wayland Baptist. So as we head into set number 2 here, Devin, Coach Moore, what does he tell his team? Do you think he's keeping in the back of his mind what happened in September with Texas Wesleyan winning that first set, or is he looking straight ahead?
I think it's a healthy amount of balance, probably. You know, having Texas Wesleyan take away set number 1 and the Lady Lions still able to come back and win, Coach Moore has a healthy understanding that the very same thing could happen in this match here tonight. And especially, we saw so many unforced, unnecessary errors from the Lady Lions. So we're going to hopefully try and play clean volleyball. That would be what I think his focus is on here in set number 2, playing clean, error-free ball.
And there we see the game we talked about earlier, Oklahoma City at Southwestern Christian. I had my locations mixed up a little bit, but Oklahoma City at Southwestern Christian up 1-0. If you are a Lady Lions fan, you have to do a little bit of scoreboard watching here. You need Southwestern Christian to upset Oklahoma City, who just played the Lady Lions tough a couple of weeks ago, or just this past week, where we had to come back and beat Southwestern Christian. So we'll keep an eye on that game and see where Oklahoma City takes the Golden Eagles as we are set here for set number 2. Again, SAGU, it feels like it was so long ago. It feels 15 minutes ago, but just 3 minutes ago took set number 1, 25-23, as did Texas Wesleyan on September 5th. They took set 1, 25-23.
And we're going to try, you know, as the team that has taken the first set, the Lady Lions really need to try to hold that momentum and not play like they've got this game in the bag. Because as evidenced by several of the rallies that we saw and the score of set number 1, this isn't an easy game. They're going to have to fight for every single point, like we've said many times during this match.
Jessica Sodich to serve for the Lady Lions as Texas Wesleyan looks to set up their offense. And they're going to get the first point of set number 2. Tiara Coverson going up in that middle, right at the teeth of the defense.
Well, it's interesting. You see there a triple block, yet the ball just kind of went straight through it. So that shows that someone's hands weren't closed tight together, because when you have a triple block, you obviously know you're trying to go against a strong offense.
Bruce is just able to handle that serve, and McBride gets it over. But here's Coverson again, dug out by Sodich, but just out of the reach of Molly McBride. And just like that first set, Texas Wesleyan is out to a 2-0 lead here.
And something that we, as the Lady Lions, are going to need to really rely on is their strong defense from the back row, because as we mentioned before, Coach Moore noted that Texas Wesleyan doesn't have necessarily the strongest defense on the back row, but we've got really good players there, so we're going to need to use that.
And there is Callie Shaw, one of those strong players, able to power it down cross court, looking in that back right corner where Coach Moore, we talked to him pregame, that's where he wants to attack tonight, is those back corners. That's where he feels the defense is weakest.
If we're able to get past the block on the front row, we saw Sodich several times last set using that block, hitting the ball out of bounds. But if we can get it past the block on a strong offensive play, their defense has a hard time returning.
And there is Coverson. It looks like they're trying to feed Tiara Coverson, the junior 6-foot middle blocker, as she's gotten a bunch of chances here in set number 2.
And after going against a triple block and hitting straight through it, why would you not?
Absolutely. The serve brought in by Shaw over to Ivy. Here's Polly A. Dawkins, and our own middle hitter this time is able to power it down. Answering middle hit for middle hit here, Devin.
You can see her excitement right after she hits. She's getting her team rallied up. They know that, again, it's only 3-2 here in set number 2, but it's already a fight for point.
And we talk about Jessica Sodich being a former All-American. Polly A. Dawkins was an All-American last season, as SAGU is able to get an ace there as Texas Wesleyan couldn't handle the serve. But Polly A. Dawkins is an All-American. We talk about Jessica Sodich, but Dawkins, I guess, a more recent All-American for the Lady Lions. But how great is that for Coach Moore to have 2 All-Americans on his team?
I mean, especially when you have one that's in the front row while the other's on the back row, that's a huge help. And you see here a double contact. So at least we're getting some consistency from the head referee.
I think they caught Callie Shaw for being under the net. That's why they went 2. Yeah, there we
Never
go.
mind.
Not a double contact, which we're used to seeing, but no, they called Callie Shaw for the net violation.
I was hopeful he was going to make up for the ones he didn't call in set number 1.
And here are the Lady Rams now up 4, serving 3. And she's well into Texas Wesleyan territory there. The serve is brought in by Bruce over to Ivy. And sliding to Dawkins. And they're going to say that kill attempt wasn't going to get over that. It didn't look like it.
But, you know, they did the right thing. Ivy did the right thing by trying to touch the ball. You never know. And so it's always better to go for it and get called for.
Ivy with the left hand decides to tip it over. And now SAGU's got a chance to set up some offense. Here's Ivy over to Shaw, and Shaw electing to go away from the power game, and SAGU's got a free ball here. Almaguer over to Ivy, and here comes Sodich from that back line. Texas Wesleyan now. Amarillo. Almaguer now over to Sodich. A good rally, the best of the second set so far. And Texas Wesleyan with a little open hand tip by their own team. And here's Dawkins now. Some good defense being shown by both of these teams, and Amarillo, Yaramio, just can't get it over the net. And after all of that good defense, it comes down to an error.
Well, and you can see the Lady Lions were tipping several times in that rally, and it just doesn't do anything against the defense of Texas Wesleyan because they do play scrappy ball, so they're going to get stuff up. So that's why Coach Moore stresses hitting hard. And you see there Texas Wesleyan, they go up aggressively and it gets them points. So both sides of the floor have to play aggressive. Dana
Lorkey, another one of these 6'1" hitters for Coach Morgan and the Lady Rams, powering it down. And they give the Lady Rams a 2-point lead as Stinnett is in to serve. Almaguer takes it in over to Ivy, looking for Sodich, and Sodich's kill is blocked out of bounds. And SAGU pulling back within one here. And this is something they did well in the first set. They seemed like they were maybe on the path to get down big, but they battled back, they stopped momentum, and that's what they're doing here in set number 2.
And that's why they were able to win that first set, because especially in a team like this with Texas Wesleyan, if you don't play point for point and allow yourself to get down by more than 2 or 3 points, then it's hard to come back at the end and win that way.
And there is Bo in to serve, and we see her do that every now and then. When you're a server is that good and that strong as Bo, sometimes those serves are going to be a little long. Unfortunate here early in set number 2. Shaw takes in the serve over to Ivy, and Shaw just has to give Texas Wesleyan a free ball here. Here's Altman. And that kill attempt by Shaylee Griffin hits the net and goes out of bounds. I think SAGU catches a break there.
And that's going to be important to take advantage of that, because in that last rally, the Lady Lions kind of looked all over the place. They weren't able to get a strong pass, even on a serve, an easy serve. Bruce wasn't able to get a really clean pass to the setter. So luckily here, we've got a chance to pull ahead with the serve on our side.
Sophia Ivy, 6 serving 7 as her serve goes wide left, out of bounds. And that's back-to-back serves for the Lady Lions that result in errors, giving the Lady Rams 2 points.
And that's exactly what you don't want to do, because I don't think there's anything more deflating than going back there and missing a serve. Especially when you have a great point where you win, you catch a break, and then you go back and just lose focus. But luckily, I mean, both sides are doing it, so we're kind of scratching even here.
If you're a Lady Lions fan, that is good news. Pulling back within 1, 7 now, serving 8, as Jessica Sodich is back to serve for the Lady Lions. Taken in. And SAGU's got a chance to set up offense. Here's Sodich. And a double contact called against Texas Wesleyan ties this second set up at 8 apiece.
And that's a hard play there. You see here, she goes up, she's already in the air. What do? Do you tip it that far back from the 10-foot line? Great decision by her, but her hands were just a little bit off center.
And that kill attempt by Mole from that back row goes out of bounds. And SAGU has their first lead of set number 2 here now, 9 serving 8. And it feels a little reminiscent of that set number 1 where they were able to battle back from 2 or 3 down. As a good defensive effort by Hartline and McBride. Here is Mole. Over to Ivy. Here's Bruce to Shaw. And Shaw is able to kill it, but the Lady Rams stick with it, but it ends up ultimately behind the bench. And that gives SAGU a 2-point lead here. It does feel a lot like that first set here.
And that play right there is great evidence that the Lady Rams are never going to give up. You see Stinnett diving for that ball. Some players probably would have given up on that, but the Lady Rams are going to go for everything.
The Sodich serve brought in that back row by Mole. Sodich to her knees. Shaw setting it up now for McBride. McBride tries to go cross court with it, and the Lady Rams pick up a big point there, now sticking within 1.
That's a great set there by Shaw, and you know, that's just one of those errors that you got to shake it off and move forward and not do it again.
Not often are we going to call the Callie Shaw set to Molly McBride. Celie Bruce takes in that serve in the back row. Here's Shaw now, and Shaw gets it in bounds. They're going to say it was tipped at the front of the net. but I think that ball also landed in bounds. We'll get a good angle from it here. It was out of bounds, but you could see it hit the hands of the Texas Wesleyan defenders at the front of that line. That is a big point for the Lady Lions. A huge break to go their way. Here's Mole trying to go cross court with it, dug out by Ivy. Over to Stalaby, here's Shaw, and Shaw is gonna give SAGU a 3-point lead, 12 serving 9 here. Everything right now coming up for SAGU.
And something that you've noticed here, Adam, in these last few rallies, although Sophia Ivy is our setter on the Lady Lions side, she hasn't set the ball in a few rallies, and that's why Coach Moore always says everyone on the court is a setter because someone's gonna have to step in.
And McBride decides to take the second hit and try to get it over. And here is Ivy back to her setter position, and Callie Shaw again. Second time in a row able to get it down and give SAGU a 4-point lead, which results in a Priscilla Morgan timeout. And the Lady Lions are rolling right now, Devin.
That's a great example of why you want to keep feeding your consistent hitter. It's no secret that the Lady Lions have several really strong hitters on their side of the floor, but with Shaw able to get, 4 kills in a row now, as Ivy, you would hope that she would keep feeding her because she is on fire. She's able to hit down the line, cross court. She can get things up and over the net that you think would already be dead. So she's really doing some great things here, which is fun to see after several kind of unforced, unnecessary errors in set number 1.
And we mentioned it earlier, Callie Shaw was last week's Sooner Athletic Conference Hitter of the Week. It kind of looks like she's going for her second straight week here as she is just dominating this second set, giving SAGU a 13-9 lead. But as we know with this Lady Rams team, no lead is safe. They can come back in a hurry.
But something fun to see is that both teams have so much more fun when you're aggressive and playing hard volleyball. But nobody likes to play tip ball where, everyone's kind of falling all over the floor. You want to have aggressive swings, so this is more fun for both sides of the court.
Brittany Stalabu, who we saw had that ace in set number 1, which gave the Lady Lions that first set. Serve for the Lions, and there is Shelby Stinnett, and that is who you need to go to if the Lady Rams want to come back in this second set.
And she's having a similar thought here as we've seen Sodich do several times. If you can't get past the block, kind of if you can't beat them, join them. So she is using the block in her favor to tool it outside of the court. So we've seen Sodich do that, and you'll see Stalaby do that too.
The Lady Lions fortunate to get that one over. And it's going to be a double contact. That is a big break for SAGU as they were out of position and really miscommunicated here, fielding that serve, and McBride was just able to get it over. But SAGU keeping this 4-point lead as Nikki Almaguer is back to serve now. And the serve goes right into the net, and that is not how you build a lead. Texas Wesleyan now back within 3.
And I don't know if you saw Adam, Coach Moore's frustration from his side of the floor. He walked all the way to the back of the line with his clipboard on his forehead, and that's not a good sign.
That is 3 service errors for the Lady Lions in this set. From the back row is Mole. Mole hits the net, and it's going to work for Texas Wesleyan. And at any point right there, there's not really anything you can do. If the hit rather is going to hit the net, that causes all kind of chaos.
Well, the bummer there is you saw Dawkins. She backed off the net last minute. She probably could have blocked that herself had she been there. And we're seeing here kind of some really out of control errors by the Lady Lions. It's easy to get a great serve pass here, but as evidenced by that last rally, we're going to have to take a deep breath and get back in control.
And that is how you take control. Go to one of your 2 All-Americans as Ivy set it up to Paulier Dawkins, and she is able to power it home.
Serving Callie Shaw.
You never really get her those high passes, just the ones that seem like they're just giving Paulier Dawkins a momentum to just go up and at the height of her jump swing down to give SAGU that 3-point lead. Ivy now looking to Sodich. And Sodich hits right into the defense. Dawkins tries to punch it over. And Almaguer is able to find a hole in the defense and give SAGU back this 4-point lead. Or rather 3-point lead, 16 serving 13, as that feels like a big point. Almaguer really was just attempting to maybe get a free ball over and finds a hole in the defense.
You see everyone laughing because that's such an easy ball over the net. It is a free ball, but Almaguer, you saw, took the time to look at the other side of the floor. She saw a hole and she went for it.
Second hit for the Lady Rams. Ivy setting it up to Sodic. Sodic goes to that back corner and finds it. Jessica Sodic, the open hand tip to give SAGU a 17-13 lead.
And that takes a lot of core strength from Sodic. That's not all in the hand like it looks. You've got to have a really strong core when she goes up to get that ball that far back in the corner. That's a great placement.
The slide play for the Lady Rams dug out by Almaguer. Ivy looking back to Sodic. And Sodic gets it to that back row and Mole. Here is Stinnett. Stinnett looks down the line. And then it's going to be looks like a net violation against SAGU. They're going to call it on Madison Hartline, I believe. Or Madeline Hartline, rather. Here is Shelby Stinnett back to serve. We see her elect from that jump serve we've seen her use so far in this game. Holly Dawkins on the slide. And that's as good as it gets, Devin. I see you trying to control your laughter.
I can't wait to watch that replay. That was beautiful.
There is Dawkins, and you're not stopping that if you're the Lady Rams, and that gives SAGU a 4-point lead. And now back to serve for Coach Moore and his Lady Lions is his best server, Bo, as we've seen her struggle a little bit tonight with a couple of long serves. Maybe she can pick up an ace here. It's a good one. SAGU's going to have a chance to set up their offense. Sodic to Ivy, back to Sodic. And goes away from the power game, but SAGU, Madeline Hartline, reading that like a book and powering it down, rather not powering it down, but just blocking it on an island.
She's in the right place at the right time, and that's a smart decision by a middle blocker. The tendency is to want to move off of the net and play defense, but she played the right kind of defense there.
5-point lead for the Lady Lions, 19-14. And there is Dana Lorkey. That had some vindication behind it. We saw her go up and just hit that right into the teeth of the defense, and it goes out of bounds. Pulling the Lady Rams back within 4. It's going to be 15 serving 19. And Sarah Benitez is back to serve now for the Lady Rams. The lefty gets it to Shaw, over to Ivy, looking for Hartline, and Hartline gets it off the hands of that big blocker, Coverson. Had a little English on it and was able to find its way out of bounds.
Serving Sophia Ivy.
You can tell everyone's having so much more fun here. The Lady Lions are celebrating after every point, playing clean, aggressive, and fast-paced volleyball.
20 serving 15. As they go to the big hitter, Coverson, and she really met no defense there for the Lady Lions. Just not really a strong attempt to stop that one.
I don't know if you could see that in the replay. She was over it. We had a block there, but she was just up and over it, so that's just a great play.
Serving now for Texas Wesleyan, Sasha Robinson. Looking for Jessica Sodic. Ivy finds her and gives SAGU that point right back. Back to a 5-point lead. Jessica Sodic from Ivy, getting it past Robinson.
And a small detail that I noticed right there, after Sodic had that great kill, you saw her complimenting the set and the pass for that play. That's a true captain, a true team player. She recognizes that it takes all 3 of those things to have a great offense. Molly
McBride now giving SAGU their biggest lead of the match at 6, 22 serving 16, and Sophia Ivy is passing out of her mind right now, seemingly finding every SAGU player at the perfect moment, and they're really taking advantage. And on Devin, when Sophia is passing like this, SAGU is hard to beat.
And like I just mentioned with Sodic's great kill, it really does take all 3 actions of getting the ball on the other side of the court. So you want a clean pass, you want to pass right to the setter, you want to have a clean set, like you said, meeting the hitter right where they are in the air. And right now, we've seen several of that exact combination for the Lady Lions, and it's working extremely well. As you see, a 6-point lead, which I think is the biggest lead we've seen in set 1 and set 2 for either side of the court. So when you have all 3 of those plays working so beautifully together, it's kind of like an orchestra. You know, everything just sounds great. Everything's playing well together. the team is in tune. The 6 people that are on the floor know what's going on. There's clear communication, and that's really, really difficult to do.
The Lady Lions are going to come out of this timeout. We saw Texas Wesleyan call 2 timeouts in that first set, and after both of those timeouts, they were really able to come back and cut the lead and tie the game. We'll see if Texas Wesleyan can use this sort of stop in momentum using this timeout to cut into the 6-point lead. But SAGU 3 points away from taking set number 2 and going up 2-0 against his Lady Rams team. Robinson looking for Culberson, bad pass brought in by Bruce. Over to Ivy looking for Shaw, and Shaw's blocked. One arm, Sealy Bruce tried to get to it and just couldn't get it under control. Texas Wesleyan gets a point back.
And that's a great try of the chicken wing there by Sealy Bruce. There wasn't really anything else she could do there, so that's her last-ditch effort. So nothing wrong with her going for it that way, but it just didn't work that time.
Back to serve are the Lady Rams, brought in by Sodich. Ivy looking for McBride. McBride fakes him out, and Callie Shaw able to come in behind and get the kill. And that's not something we see often by this Coach Moore team. Not a lot of 2 people going up for the hit, but this time it worked and it crossed up that defense. SAGU now 23 serving 17, and Brittany Stallaby back in. Again, gave SAGU that first set. Here is Mole, blocked down by Sean Dawkins. Robinson gets it over to Culberson. Here is Sodich to Ivy, looking for Shaw. Shaw just has to punch it over, but it was touched by the Lady Rams. And the Lady Lions staying alive, and that ball out of bounds long by Callie Shaw. And that gives Texas Wesleyan a little bit of life here in set number 2.
But you did see a good step in by Sodich there, going in for the assist. So the Lady Lions are still communicating clearly. Hopefully the side out can happen right here to keep that deficit for the Lady Lions. I'm speechless.
Paulier Dawkins giving SAGU the set point here. 24 now serving 18. And these 3, maybe even 4 big hitters for the Lions, and McBride, Dawkins, Shaw, and Sodich have come through so far in set number 2. Here's Robinson looking for Stinnett, and Stinnett powers it right down at Callie Shaw. And she is able to cut the lead to 5, 19 serving 24 rather. And there we see the fantastic senior for the Lady Lions.
And that's a really impressive play to be able to hit that far across court right where Callie Shaw was standing. That's a really aggressive, strong play.
Here's Dawkins on the slide, gets blocked. Almaguer now with it, and Bruce just has to get it over. Robinson looking back to Lorkey, and Lorkey's kill goes out of bounds and gives SAGU the second set, 25-19, and the Lady Lions are looking phenomenal tonight, Devin.
And even, I mean, the score, like we talked about several times throughout set number 2, there was never a deficit that strong in set number 1. So the Lady Lions stayed ahead by 6 there at the end of the set. But even still, it felt like a point-for-point set. I mean, there was no lull in the game. There was never a point where you and I could just sit back and say, oh, well, you know, here's another score for whomever. It was always active. Every single rally, either team was going to fight back. So there's really no giving up for either team. And again, we can't stress the importance, even though the Lady Lions have these 2 sets here against the Lady Rams, you can't just lay down, because there's a reason why volleyball goes to 5 sets.
How scary is a team like Texas Wesleyan when they're down 2-0? At this point, not having taken a set away, they have nothing, quote unquote, nothing to lose? How scary can they be when they're down like this and they can come out and swing away?
Well, I think we've seen it in a couple of rallies here, more so in set number 2, where they had everything together. Their passes were great, their sets were clean, and then they would come away with an incredible offensive play. And it happened several times in the middle of me saying something, and then I just can't finish my sentence. So we see that it's possible for the Lady Rams to do that. And like you said, having nothing to lose and that anger almost to come back, it's nothing to be joked around with, that's for sure.
Keep an eye here on set number 3. Coach Morgan has taken her team away from the bench and back towards the locker room area, as you saw in this shot here. We don't ever see that. Typically, these set breaks are taken at the benches. Some serious talking, some serious coaching from Coach Morgan back there to take her team back to the locker room. Keep an eye on set number 3 here. This Lady Rams team could be scary coming out of this set break.
And you see Coach Moore, he's in his same calm demeanor here before set number 3, but he's still focused. He's still very intentional about what he's talking to his team about. So that's evidence that they don't think that they've got it in the bag. The Lady Lions are still going to have to come out, play strong offense and clean defense. And they're going to have to do everything right, just like they have in set number 1 and set number 2. And I think a big reason why we saw the 6-point deficit in set number 2 was I don't remember, we had a few missed serves, but not nearly as many errors on the Lady Lions side, which allowed for them to play fun and clean, aggressive volleyball. And obviously it paid off with a 6-point lead.
The match on September 5th, again, the Lady Lions walked out of Fort Worth. You get Fort Worth right down the road. This is probably the Lady Lions. Not only is it a big matchup at the top of the Sooner Athletic Conference standings, this is probably their biggest rival because they are less than 45 minutes away from the Lady Lions. A lot of people call it the Battle of 287 between Texas Wesleyan and the Lady Lions. But on September 5th, set 1 was decided by 2 points. Set 2 was decided by 4 points. Set 3 by 3, and then of course set 4, which gave the Lady Lions the win by 2. So tightly contested. This is the biggest set win against the Lady Rams that the Lady Lions have had all season. That's gotta feel good heading into set number 3. Not only that, but being up 2-0.
And it's definitely something to be noticed. I mean, they want to take that momentum. They want to use that excitement and that confidence. But at the same time, you walk a fine line there of going in too confident or not confident enough. So you've got to be right in the middle with the contest so close between these two teams.
And here you see Southwestern Christian and Oklahoma City. Again, they are in Southwestern Christian. They are hosting Oklahoma City in a tightly contested third set, 12-10 with an Oklahoma City lead. Again, we'll keep an eye on that one. That's one you got to watch if you're a Lady Lions fan. Soda takes in the serve, and Hartline gets it to that back row to Altman. Altman now gets it over, and she gets it past that front line in front of Sealy Bruce, and a good job to read the defense.
And we've seen both sides of the court do that play where you go up aggressively, elbow high, drop it at the last second. It hasn't really worked that well, except for that play. That was beautifully executed.
Ivy now to McBride. McBride is that one hitter that we haven't seen get going yet tonight, but that may be a way to feed her. She's had a couple of good kills, but here early in set 3, getting her first one.
And that is one instance in this game where a tip does work. We've talked a lot about Coach Moore wanting to play aggressively, but right there, if you time it perfectly and place the ball right where it needs to be, it'll work.
Stalaby's serve causes a little chaos for the Lady Rams, but Brittany Mole is able to get that one in front of the Lady Lions defense. And Callie Shaw just goes off the hands and to the right. 2 serving 1 now for Texas Wesleyan. Sodich to Ivy to Dawkins, and Dawkins kill blocked, but into the net. Hollier Dawkins hitting with a ferociousness that we haven't really seen in this long of a stretch so far this season. It comes in little spurts, but tonight it's consistent.
And that's a lucky break right there. She hit the ball straight into the block. So we've seen several times where the Lady Rams will stuff the block back into our face, but right there, like we've talked about, they were just barely enough off the net where it worked in our favor.
Service error by Jessica Sodich out of bounds gives Texas Wesleyan that lead right back now. 3 serving 2. As our R2 and head coach Priscilla Morgan have a conversation about a substitution here as they finally have it ready to go, and Kayla Hayes steps in to serve for the Lady Rams. Again, 3 serving 2 here in set number 3. The Lady Lions taking the first 2 sets, hold a 2-0 lead against this tough Lady Rams team. Dawkins with the open hand. We're gonna get a whistle and a net violation against. Waiting to see a number here. They may call that on Dawkins.
It's hard to tell. Without that replay there, I'm not really sure who they called it on. My guess would be Dawkins going up with that aggressive offensive play there, but oh, here we go. Yep, right there, just barely, and that's the rule in volleyball indoor now that's so tricky, because if it would have happened while Dawkins was in the air, anywhere else on the floor wouldn't have mattered, but because Dawkins was going actively after the ball, you see here barely under the net, she's interfering potentially with the blocking of Texas Wesleyan, so that's a valid call.
And that's going to give Texas Wesleyan a 2-point lead, and we've seen them start sets 1 and 2, both of them with the lead, 3-0 in the first set and then 2-0 in the second. But the Lady Lions did such a good job of not letting that lead grow, not letting the Lady Rams gain any sort of momentum and build a lead. We'll see if they can continue that trend here in set number 3 as our officials are having a little conversation, potentially maybe about this last call. It looks pretty clear from up here. I'm not sure what the confusion is.
And it's really important as the R1 and R2, even if you don't know each other before you get to the gym, it's really important to have a great relationship. And you see here, you know, they've clearly got two extremely different views. So the R2 has a clear view of what we can see from up here on the TV, but R1 is not even looking down at the floor.
And so they're going to award the point to the Lady Lions, which would make this, I believe, a 3-all set. In this situation, I would think that would result in a replay.
I would think so, and we see here, the point's not over yet. We're still fighting for it from the Texas Wesleyan side, and you see the R2, that's a really tough spot to be in. I mean, even if you do make a really good, clean call, you've got to explain. There's going to be one unhappy coach. So I'm not really sure, you know, without having audio up here of what the referees are talking about, like you said, it does look really clear from up here. If only we had the referees mic'd so we could know what's happening.
They have yet to award SAGU that third point. It looks like they may have just taken away the point from Texas Wesleyan and may be replaying this. This point should be with Texas Wesleyan serving, as our officials are still conversing here, trying to clear everything up. And in a tightly contested match like this, every point, honestly, every point matters, especially early on in the set when you're trying to build momentum, maybe cause the other team to call a timeout. And we're going to have our R1. Rarely do we see him leave his perch during the match, but he's going to. He's going to talk to team captain Jessica Sodich about what the delay is here.
And this is one of those scenarios where, you know, everything has to be consistent. So I mentioned earlier, the referees have to be on the same page. They have to both understand what's going on. And now when you reverse the play, here you see him going into his rule book. So we've got some disagreeing here on what the rule actually is. And if you play any sport, you understand that the official regulations change quite often. And having been a volleyball player, you know, I know that sometimes it was hard for me to even keep up with the rules. So I would get so upset with the referee and then realize, oh, you know, that's a really valid call. So here they're just doing their due diligence to make sure that they are calling accurately. And either way it goes, we're going to have an unhappy team. I mean, the Lady Lions have the excitement of thinking they got the point back. And you see here both teams are extremely involved, and Jessica Sodich is getting a little bit of a snack here.
Looks like some goldfish. I wonder if she stole those from her daughters.
So you see, and this is a really, really frustrating thing for both sides of the court, because when you're playing intense volleyball, you don't want to take a break like this, except if you're hungry. So,
playing at such a high level is the former All-American. You got to think she might get hungry here around set number 3. Not usually there is a delay that's this long and lengthy that she's able to take a couple minutes and munch on some goldfish.
So hopefully we'll see a good call. You know, we can trust the referees, and here we go watching that play again. I'm not really sure what there is to argue here, but again, Adam, that's why you and I are up here calling the game, and we're not referees.
Well, technically they're calling the game too, but in a different little matter, as it looks like he finally has it cleared up, but he's still going to talk to the team captains, Jessica Sodich and Shelby Stinnett, both seniors, as we await an explanation, and maybe we'll see where the point is delivered. I would think it would result in a replay, which is what it's going to look like as of now, with where the scoreboard in the gym is pointed. It would be 3 serving 2 in favor of Texas Wesleyan. It sure didn't look like that complicated of a play.
So we're about to find out here. The suspense is killing me. I'm ready to find out what happened. Anytime you have to have the R1 get down from the stand, you know that it's serious. So we're about to find out here, and you'll be able to, you know, hopefully it's going to be a replay, but again, it's up to the referees here.
And to stay loose, both teams, Lady Rams and Lady Lions, dancing on the court. And there you see the final from Southwestern Christian. Oklahoma City, regardless of what happens in this match tonight between the Lady Lions and Lady Rams, they will sit atop of the Sooner Athletic Conference standings with that tiebreaker coming from the victory over SAGU just a couple of weeks ago. It didn't feel like that long ago, but in that time span, they also beat Texas Wesleyan. So if Texas Wesleyan comes out and wins tonight, they're still in that loss column, one more game than the Stars. Oklahoma City can go to bed tonight sitting atop the Sooner Athletic Conference standings.
We see here more conversation going between Texas Wesleyan and the referees. So both sides of the court are huddled together, doing the best they can to stay focused and get warm again, because, you know, after playing these intense 3 sets, it's amazing how easy it is to get cold again and not be able to come back full speed.
They gave the Lady Lions the point after they had awarded Texas Wesleyan the point, which gave them a 4-2 lead after almost a 6 or 7 minute delay here, as the 2 officials were talking about the call, which we thought was a Polly A. Dawkins net violation, turns ultimately into a SAGU point, and tying it up at 3 apiece with Callie Shaw now back to serve. This could be a momentum builder for the Lady Lions, getting a point back that they may not have, shouldn't have gotten.
And at this point, after such a long break, it's almost like the score is 0-0. And I know that we are really early on in set number 3, but even still, you know, coming out with a fresh perspective, the Lady Lions have yet another opportunity. Even though it's still set number 3, they've got another opportunity to start like it's 0-0, and they can come out and hopefully we can see even more than a 6-point lead.
And there you see the most up-to-the-minute Sooner Athletic Conference standings, and Oklahoma City will indeed be at the top of the Sooner Athletic Conference again, regardless of what the Lady Lions do tonight. They do hold that tiebreaker in that victory over SAGU, as Shaw is set to serve now after that long delay. Robinson looking to Stinnett, and Stinnett gets the kill after the delay. They put the Lady Rams back up 4-3, as she looks like she is not cold at all, coming straight out of that and getting a kill.
And that's a great play for Texas Wesleyan. After a defeating point, a long break, they come out, get the momentum on their side, so now it's an even game to fight either way.
McGear over to Ivy, finding Dawkins, and Dawkins' kill is punched over by the Lady Rams. Dawkins now open hand tip over. Robinson looking to that middle hitter, and Callie Shaw just has to take a swing at it, and she cannot get it over. Dana Lorkey is able to get herself a kill, as the Lady Lions just could not recover on defense. Kayla Hayes to serve now for the Lady Rams. Ivy looking for Sodich, and Sodich takes a little bit off it. And a good dig by Callie Shaw, and SAGU just gives it to Texas Wesleyan. Robinson now looking for Lorkey again, blocked down by Polly A. Dawkins and Jessica Sodich, and the Lady Lions cut it back to 1.
And after sending over a free ball like we just saw, that's a great recovery play by the Lady Lions, because you never want to send a team like Texas Wesleyan a free ball if you're not wanting them to do something aggressive with it. The Lady Rams are always going to turn that into an aggressive play, and we saw the Lady Lions come right back with that strong block.
Robinson looking for Yaramillo, and she finds her as she's able to, like you said, if you can't beat them, join them. Hits it right into the block, and it goes out of bounds. Good effort by Sodich and Hartline, but it gives Texas Wesleyan a 2-point lead back. Shaw takes in the serve over to Ivy. Ivy on the second hit is going to get called for a double contact, and in a situation like that, you don't think that they would try to set up the offense.
Well, right there, she's so far off the net. I'm not sure what her thought process there was, because as a setter, it's so important to have your feet and hips aligned, and she had neither there, so I'm not sure what she was going for, but luckily we see a little bit of scrambling here from the Lady Rams as we're back in this next rally.
Robinson looking to Mole from that back line, and she hits it into the net. SAGU 5 serving 7 now. Texas Wesleyan, if they had gotten that point, it would have been their largest lead of the night at 4 points. But the Lady Lions, again, doing a good job of not letting that lead stretch or grow. Cutting it to 2. Ivy to serve. Brought in by Mole. Over to Altman. Looking for Robinson. Bruce digs it out over to Ivy. Shaw from that back line. Altman to Robinson. Over to Stinnett. Soda digs it out, but it's going to go right back over. And Robinson on the second hit with the left hand gets it down, catches the Lady Lions defense off guard, and gets the point.
And you can see there the Lady Lions are all just kind of staring up at what was going to happen. So that was a really, really smart play there by the Lady Rams.
The net serve brought in by Sodich. Hartline just has to get it over. Here is Robinson again with the second hit, and Sealy Bruce diving and able to keep it alive for the Lions, but ultimately gonna result in a Lady Lions point as that hit goes around the antenna. Sealy Bruce, who just a couple weeks ago had a knee injury, sacrificing her body there, able to get one hand under it.
And that, as the libero, you know, we talked at the beginning of this match about how important of a player Sealy is. Yes, as a leader on the court, but also physically. I mean, a libero, you've got to be able to throw your body like that, and she is not afraid to hit the floor. And that is the making of a true libero.
Coach Moore said she had been working hard ever since that knee injury, and he said once she got to where she felt she was 80% ready to play, he felt she would still be the best defensive player on the court for the Lady Lions, and indeed she has shown it tonight. A fantastic game by libero Sealy Bruce, as Jessica Sodich's kill from that back line is a little long and gives Texas Wesleyan another point. They're going to be up 9-7 here, but Sealy Bruce, a gutsy performance tonight. Her first match back after that knee injury, and she is playing like her old self.
And if we can keep that strong defense on the back row and just clean up these errors, you see there another one, Sophia Ivy frustrated at that play. That's not a great pass, but it's a playable pass for Ivy to be able to jump up and take that ball over the net. So we're just going to have to clean some things up here if we want to not let any points come back for the Lady Rams.
Ivy looking for Hartline, and Hartline is able to get it through the teeth of the defense and cut it back to within 2. The Lady Lions not going away. They are, not letting this lead grow. The largest lead of the night for the Lady Rams has only been 3 points.
And now the Lady Rams have already reached that 10-point mark, so the Lady Lions are going to have to fight back to try to get to 15 first. It's always a 5-point race.
Here is Mole, taken in by Ivy. Over to Stolaby, looking for McBride. And McBride, good diving effort by Stinnett. And the Lady Rams, Brittany Mole, gets it back to Sodich. Over to Ivy, looking for McBride again. And McBride this time into the block, out of bounds. The Lady Lions now within 1.
And we've talked about how McBride hasn't had an extremely strong hitting match, but she's been doing everything at the exactly right time. You know, she hasn't been fed a whole lot. And you see there a frustrating error. Again, we've just got to eliminate those unforced errors. I mean, I can't say it enough. Serving, all you got to do is focus. It's mental. You get back over and in is all you got to do.
11 serving 9 as Sodic takes in that serve over to Ivy, over to Shaw. Dug out that time by Sarah Benitez. Bruce to Ivy, to Dawkins. Got underneath it a little bit. Here's Benitez. Over to Yaramillo. Ivy now over to McBride, and McBride powers it in front of that blocking combo of Coverson and Yaramillo, pulling again within 1 here. 10 serving 11 in set number 3.
And we've seen that several times where the ball goes straight in front of the block, both for the Lady Rams and the Lady Lions. So that just shows the importance of penetrating the net with your block every single time.
Almagir's serve hits the net, and Texas Wesleyan is all crossed up on defense, and SAGU ties it up as Almagir, I'm going to go ahead and say she tried that, hitting the net on that serve, tying it up again here, 11 apiece in set number 3.
Well, to make a serve more aggressive, you are trained to try and serve it at that white tape, because if it hits it, there's hardly anything the other team can do.
Dawkins now passing it to Shaw. Shaw just has to dump it over, or give Texas Wesleyan a free ball. Here's Yaramillo, the block combo of Shaw and Dawkins. Again, Dawkins. This time the block goes out of bounds, and Texas Wesleyan, after that point, they are pumped. 12 serving 11, getting that lead right back.
After you get blocked several times in a row and it comes back inbounds, when you're able to finally tool off the block out of bounds, of course you're going to celebrate. That's a great, great play of consistency by the Lady Rams.
Ivy gets it to Callie Shaw, and Callie, with as good as a hit as you're going to see tonight, but better defense this time by the Rams, and Yaramillo and Coverson. They are able to block it back down, and a 2-point lead for the Lady Rams.
And that's a huge block. There's no way that Callie Shaw can hit all the way through that unless someone's missing or they're off the net like we just saw there. So, you know, in moments like that, we've got to keep hitting aggressively. You know, Polly A. Dawkins has had a great match, playing really aggressive at the net, but right there you see a hitting error, and we had a blocking error, we had a serving error, back to back to back, and now we're down by 3. So Coach Moore calls this timeout very strategically, because he knows that all of those errors that have been made are mental. Serving is completely mental. Getting in the net, making a silly mistake like that, over approaching the ball when you are going on offense. All of those things are mental that are easily fixed with a deep breath and a refocus, which is exactly what this timeout is here. That's what a timeout was designed to be. So that's what Coach Moore is doing right now, and we'll see how effective it is right when we come back here after timeout number 1.
14 serving 11 for the Texas Wesleyan Lady Rams. It matches their largest lead of the night. It's been closely contested for the most part between these two teams, despite the 6-point second set win for the Lady Lions. It has just felt close all night long, and this third set is no exception. Celie Bruce takes in the serve over to Ivy, looking for Shaw again. Callie Shaw this time goes cross court with it right at Sarah Benitez, and there's not a whole lot you can do to stop that.
And I just said you're not going to be able to get through that block. So Shaw went up. She noticed that block was set to block the line. So she's not going to try and hit right into him. She cuts her hand across, goes cross court, and wins that point.
Block at the line by Sodic and Dawkins. Now back to Sodic, and Sodic's kill goes out of bounds. Actually hits our line judge. That's going to be a point for SAGU, and they pull back within 1, 13-14. How hard do you have to hit it for the block to go out that back line?
I was literally just thinking the same thing when you said that. I mean, that's an extremely hard hit there.
Almagir able to get a hand on it, but miscommunication between Shaw and Bruce, and it lands, giving Texas Wesleyan a 15-13 lead, and that's not something we see very often in this Lady Lions defense. They always communicate well.
And that's definitely not a mistake you want to make in set number 3 when you're down even just by 2. And that's a great play by Almagir, so that's frustrating for her, I'm sure, to see that fall to the ground.
And the Lady Lions just get it over, and they stay alive. Here come the Lady Rams, blocked down by Dawkins and Sodic, and that is a huge point. It felt like he was going the way of the Lady Rams after that second hit was hit over by Texas Wesleyan. but the Lady Lions persevering and pulling within one.
And you can see the excitement in the stands there on that broadcast. We got some of our fans up there in the stand. They all know how big of a match this is, and to see them celebrate, that's a great feeling to have for the Lady Lions in this gym tonight.
Bow back to serve for SAGU. And Texas Wesleyan all sorts of crossed up right now as the Lady Lions tie it back up at 15 apiece. And that's what you want to do if you're Bow. Come in and serve well. Try to give SAGU a lead.
And right here, this is all mental. Just a deep breath over and in the court and let the ball do the rest.
Robinson looking for Lorkey, but it's blocked down by that front line, and the Lady Lions have their first lead of set number 3, and they have battled back point by point and clawed their way to get this lead.
And this is where you can see every aspect of the game is going right. The Lady Lions are passing well, communicating, setting well, playing great offense, setting up their defense. Everything is working together, and that's why things are going so smoothly, because everyone knows where they need to be and what their job is.
Stinette's kill dug out by Callie Shaw. Here's Yaramillo, and she is able to get it past the diving Bow as Texas Wesleyan ties it back up at 16 apiece. And back to serve now for the Lady Rams, Hannah Altman. 16 all, set number 3. SAGU leading 2-0. Jessica Sodich breaks the tie, powers it past that front line, and gives SAGU a 1-point lead in set number 3.
And it looks like there, she had a fairly open net. She was a little bit to the right of where the block was set, so she had a lot of freedom in where to place that ball, and it just kind of looked smooth as butter. I mean, it was like the set came over beautifully. Sodich was right in the right spot, and it worked to put the Lady Lions ahead by 1.
Sophia Ivy's serve may have looked like it was a little long, but it was played by Texas Wesleyan. And here's Sodich from that 10-foot line, gets it to that back line. And here is Stinette trying to go cross court, but Sodich's dig goes back over. Here's Robinson. Second hit works again. That is the 3rd time this set that we have seen Sasha Robinson utilize that second hit. And that time going up with 2 hands, but at the very last second, that left hand.
And that's what I was about to say. If a setter does that repeatedly, you want to start looking for it. But in this case, she fakes it so well. So even if you are looking for it, you may miss it.
Molly McBride's kill dug out by Altman. And here comes Mole. Mole's kill goes long, and the Lady Lions break the tie again, 18 serving 17. And it looks like they're trying to feed Molly McBride, who a lot of this year, she's played the role of closer, where she's come in this 3rd set and played very well, closed out a lot of matches for Coach Moore, and it looked like they're trying to feed her. Altman looking for Robinson, and Robinson's kill goes long. And the Lady Lions now have a 2-point lead late in set number 3.
And when you're at this point, Adam, it's really, really important to still play aggressively, but you want to just let the other team make the mistakes. So, and this is exactly what we think should be happening right now. We've seen several mistakes back-to-back by the Lady Rams, and so this is another one of those timeouts, very intentional by the Rams head coach, very intentional in getting the girls to relax. And this is just a great opportunity for Coach Moore to talk to the Lady Lions about strategy. How do we get to 20? How do we get to 25? How do we fight every single point? Meanwhile, in the Lady Rams timeout, we see a little bit of passion here from their coach, pointing, asking questions. Why weren't you in your place? Why are you making that mistake? Why can't we just focus, take a deep breath? And you see kind of a defeated look on each of the Lady Rams players, and rightfully so. They know that they're a better team than this, and they're playing a lot of errored volleyball, and there's no reason for that, especially at this point in the match. So this is an excellently placed timeout. And all we can hope for the Lady Rams is that they'll take advantage of this, take a deep breath, and come out ready to push for 20.
And in set number 3 here with the Lady Lions leading 2-0, we talk about the milestone points in 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. The Lady Lions 19 serving 17, 1 point away from getting that at 20, as well as a 3-point lead. How big does this individual point feel here for the Lady Lions here in set 3?
Well, we've noticed, I noticed at least in set number 2, when a timeout was called, it did work in the favor of whoever called it. So if we're going off the track record of just this match, the Lady Lions really need to watch out. And especially with Sodic, she's had a couple service errors in this match already. So over and in is all she needs to do.
She does get it over and in. Here's Altman looking for Mole, and Mole dug out by Sodic. Sealy Bruce settles underneath it, and Sodic gets it over, and the Lady Lions stay alive here on this point. Altman looking for Lorky, and she finds her. Sodic just could not get in front of that one. And again, it rings true. The team that calls the timeout scores the immediate point. 19 now to 18 in favor of the Lady Lions. As Benitez is back to serve now for the Lady Rams. The lefty gets it over and in. Here's Bruce now. Shaw with a free ball for Texas Wesleyan. And there we see a tie game. Tiara Coverson reading the defense, and that open hand tip lands in front of all Lady Lions defenders.
And that happened once before in the rally where we just lost, and the Lady Lions have got to play on their toes. That's the only way to fix that. You can read the players so much on the other side of the floor, but you've got to be on your toes for being ready for no matter what. And there we go. We see Shaw out and ready for that aggressive play.
The Sooner Athletic Conference Hitter of the Week last week, coming up with a big point for SAGU, and that just kind of felt like it was going SAGU's way. A soft serve led to a Sealy Bruce good pass to Ivy with another good pass to Shaw, and they convert.
And even if it's not a technical free ball, an easy serve like that is just as good as one.
And here comes Mole, taken in by Ivy to Sodic. McBride just has to get it over, but it goes long, and we are at 20 all here in set number 3. And the Lady Lions, again, up 2-0. This Texas Wesleyan team is scary at this point. Sodic takes in the serve to Ivy. The Sodic from that back line, and that's going to land inbounds. Jessica Sodic from the back line gives SAGU the lead right back. A beautiful hit by Sodic. SAGU now with a 21-20 lead off of Jessica Sodic's backline kill. Almaguer into serve. Robinson looking for Mole. Dug out by Almaguer. And we see Coverson make an error there. She tried to get it back over but couldn't. And SAGU now with a 2-point lead.
And you can see the difference there. If she would have been a little closer at the net and gone for a block, then that would not have been called a double contact. But because she was off the net, took it with 2 hands. And right there, that's a huge play. We saw a great offensive swing by Shaw, and then right there, she's ready, aggressive, over the net, wanting to send the ball right back, and she's in the right place at the right time, and the Lady Rams can't do anything against that block.
And we've seen Sasha Robinson as we enter a timeout here by the Lady Rams and Priscilla Morgan. Robinson, 3 times this third set, has utilized that second hit to get it over, and you said you have to adjust, and that looks like what Callie Shaw did just there. She adjusted.
And right here, we remember we were at this point not too long ago where the Lady Rams were down 19-21. So, it's whoever is ready to come out after a timeout and fight. The Lady Rams got that first point. They were there fighting right with us. And then here we see the Lady Lions. It's like almost like something just clicked. After a couple of errors, something clicked and they all came together. We saw Shaw kind of wake up. She hasn't played poorly, but she just hasn't really been that aggressive. So here you see her wake up. She has a great swing and then a really intense block. And so now the Lady Rams are desperate with 2 points left to the match. Potentially the match could be over after this next point. Next 2 points, excuse me.
Coming out of the timeout, all night tonight, the Lady Rams have been able to answer and get 1 or 2 points to hold the momentum of the Lady Lions. Coach Morgan has really utilized these timeouts perfectly and has done a good job of cutting a lead against the Lady Lions. We'll see if that continues. It has to if you're Coach Morgan and the Lady Rams, with SAGU, again, like you said, potentially 2 points away from taking this match in 3 straight sets against Texas Wesleyan, who always has a good volleyball team. And here's Coverson with the open hand tip. Didn't quite get a good jump on it. And Shaw's hit blocked down by Coverson. Almaguer gets it over. Robinson looking for Mole. Sodic And then miscommunication on the part of Ivy as she looked like she should have been there for the pass. Maybe misjudged it a little bit.
Looks like it came up. She didn't break to the net quite in the right amount of time, so she's up to block. She should have just turned around, stayed at the net, but instead she went back to play defense. Just a silly mistake, and we're able to hopefully come out of that quickly here.
Dawkins' kill goes out of bounds off the block of Stinnett, and the Lady Lions have match point here in set number 3. 24 serving 21 as Callie Shaw is back to serve, who's had a phenomenal set number 3, especially here late. She looks to take it home for the Lady Lions. Robinson looking for Stinnett. Stinnett powers it down into the block, out of bounds. And the Lady Rams not going away. Not quite yet. 22 now serving 24.
And you can tell the Lady Rams aren't quite ready to give up just yet. So even though they're down 2-0, the Lady Lions are at match point. They're still going to fight for every single thing here.
Alma Gear takes in the serve over to Ivy, looking to Sodich, and why not? Sodich's kill goes out of bounds, and the Lady Lions take set 3, and that is the match, 25-22 against Texas Wesleyan, the Lady Rams, their rival. How big is this win, Devin? It feels huge.
Well, it is huge, Adam. I mean, winning in 4 at Texas Wesleyan is big in and of itself because they have such a hard fan base to play against. And we were down again 1 set when we played them the first time. You've said it many times. Texas Wesleyan took away that first set, but here the Lady Lions came out ready to play. And I stressed this at the beginning of the match. Even if you have beat the team once before, and not an easy game, but fairly easy, you don't want to come in thinking that it's not going to be hard. And the Lady Lions had the mental strength in this match to play like every single point mattered.
And there you see again the most up-to-the-minute Sooner Athletic Conference standings. SAGU and Oklahoma City stand atop the conference, 11-1 each team. SAGU is going to improve to 20-5, and Texas Wesleyan falls to 20-3. And those 3 losses, 2 of them coming from the Lady Lions against a team that has given them so much trouble in the past. Really, the Lady Lions getting over that hump, sweeping the season series against the Lady Rams. And again, sitting at the top of the Sooner Athletic Conference standings, of course, Oklahoma City holding that tiebreaker against the Lady Lions. Wow, Devin, big win. Coach Moore would kill me if he ever knew I said this, but you talked about him maybe being nervous before the games. I think the nerves can be calmed down a little bit here as he picks up a huge win against the Texas Wesleyan Lady Rams. We've got the player of the match, Callie Shaw, with our very own Kristen Urban. Kristen, how's Callie feel about this huge win?
Thanks, Adam. Callie, impressive 3-set win over a tough opponent tonight. What were some of the key factors in the team's success?
Well, Coach helped us out a lot. We had a huge scouting report, like on every single player. We knew what was coming. We knew what they were running. This whole entire week, and last week, we've been preparing for Texas Wesleyan.
How do you plan on carrying this momentum into your next home game against Arlington Baptist?
Same thing. Tomorrow, I'm sure he's going to come out with a new scouting report. And tonight's a great win, but tonight's going to be tonight. And tomorrow and Thursday, we're going to focus on Arlington.
Thanks, Callie, and congratulations. Back to you, Adam.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Callie. Fantastic game by Callie Shaw and this Lady Lions team. If you are a fan of Lady Lions volleyball, you're in for a good week. We are back this Thursday night as the Lady Lions take on Arlington Baptist as they try to continue to ride this wave of momentum here late on in the season in the Sooner Athletic Conference where anybody can beat anybody on any given night. So come back this Thursday, again, 7 o'clock, 6:55 pregame for the SAGU Lady Lions taking on Arlington Baptist. For our student crew and our sideline reporter, Kristen Urban, from my partner, Devin Webb, happy anniversary, Devin. I'm Adam Ferguson, and you have watched the SAGU Sports Network.